It's really strange. People who don't like us seem to talk about us non-stop. The talented TV presenter and columnist Victoria Coren-Mitchell, host of the BBC game show Only Connect, responded to a clip on GBNews of the presenter Leo Kearse doing what he's famous for, biting political satire. Take a look.
This is reported in the Daily Mail and the Independent. So Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, which is Iranian for ungrateful.
She certainly split the room, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has. She has. And, so she had this press conference, had a right old go at the British government for spending, £400 million to get her back. She's
supposed to be a charity worker.
Iranian for ungrateful, spicy stuff. Well, here is Coren-Mitchell's response. She tweeted the following. Take a look at this. Comedy is the greatest art form. Freedom is vital to it, like oxygen to plants, and more power to your elbow in future. That's my piece on this, and I'm done. Except to say, earlier, and we'll get the tweet up, she accused the clip of being racist. That's right, she accused the clip of being racist. Very confusing. If you don't like a clip, why would you share it and therefore amplify its audience? This dreadful clip, to which Mrs. Coren-Mitchell takes such offence, has now been viewed by almost 500,000 people. Things I don't like, I ignore and avoid. I wouldn't want a single extra person to see things that I don't like, let alone 500,000. So what would motivate sharing a clip that you don't like? Why would you do that? Crumbs, I wonder if it's because you've got a virtue signal that you've got to give to your army of followers. Look at this terrible video, isn't it awful? And aren't I a lovely person by sharing it and saying it's awful? It is a signal, surely. Like so much on social media, it's a message about you and about your brand. But the message it sends to me is that this satirical programme, in the case of Headliners, which I host every Friday, Saturday and Sunday, is something that shouldn't exist. Now, she went on to actually speak on behalf of Simon Evans with this puzzling tweet. Simon is one of the other presenters of this particular show. Also interesting that you can see in the eyes of Simon Evans that he knows this conversation is idiotic and beneath him, and that he's visiting from another planet and slightly regretting it. So according to her, Simon Evans doesn't want to be there and he regrets being on the show. Well, here is Simon's response. Utterly baseless accusations of racism dismantled by Nick Dixon. I've said this before, but while there is still witless slander of this sort flying around, I'll keep saying it. I'm proud of that show. Who knew? So the message, perhaps, is that Leo Kearse shouldn't be doing what he does, which is to be excruciatingly and hilariously brutal about all public figures. He had bloody Lembit Opik in tears the other day, which has got to be one for the bucket list. The message from Victoria Coren-Mitchell might even suggest that GBNews shouldn't exist if it's publishing this disgraceful content. I don't know. She even questioned why it was a clip, therefore taking aim at the talented young team in our social media department. In a lengthy follow-up tweet, which I didn't fully read because I was washing my hair, Mrs. Coren-Mitchell reaffirmed her commitment to comedy. Let's take another look at that tweet. So she's obviously all about freedom of speech, but she has then gone on to defend Jimmy Carr. And this is in a previous tweet. Whilst I'm here, might I take a moment to mention I also love Jimmy Carr, a close friend who's made about 1,000 jokes I wouldn't make myself as a stage performer. But as a man, he's full of goodness and kindness. He's a properly decent person. Well, of course, we know he was notorious for a certain joke, which we'll get to shortly. Now, this is very interesting. Lots of tweets came in from members of the audience who had a look at what the tweet said. I don't agree with much of what Leo said, but you're going to have to point out the racist comments to me, please. Headliners is an excellent programme and slurs are just plain wrong. Throwing around the term racist and racism for basically criticising someone is also lazy. We can go into the rights and wrongs of the British government's handling of this poor woman's 6-year prison term. Our own Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, whilst Foreign Secretary, wrongly claimed that she was a journalist. He also wrongly claimed that he was a journalist once too. I'm personally delighted that Nazanin is home. It's taken far too long. She's a hero, her husband is a hero, and I believe it was right to pay the money. But during her first press conference, when she interrupted and challenged her husband for praising the British government, within minutes, ungrateful Nazanin was trending on Twitter, something that Leo Kearse picked up on and turned into a joke. Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe is Iranian for ungrateful. He was responding to some public criticism that she might have condemned her captors more and more fulsomely thanked the British government and therefore the British people for parting with almost £500 million to secure her release. £400 million is no small sum in these straitened times. So it's fair journalistic comment to question what some perceive to have been a tone-deaf response from her. And it's fair comedic comment too, because the last time I checked, you are allowed to joke about anything in this country and have an opinion. Mrs. Corin Mitchell famously and rightly defended free speech in relation to Jimmy Carr's joke. I've just quoted you her comments there. His joke was about gypsies being slaughtered in the Second World War. So a joke about gypsy murder isn't racist, but a joke saying Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe is Iranian for ungrateful is. It doesn't add up. The truth is that whilst neither of these jokes are ones that I would say, neither Jimmy Carr or Leo Kearse's jokes were racist, just harsh, satirical and edgy, a quality boasted by some of the finest comedians out there. Mrs. Corin Mitchell claims to be such a cheerleader for free speech and comedy from her tax-funded ivory tower at the BBC. But she makes a potentially highly damaging accusation against a comedian who has finally achieved a television platform, having spent a decade being cancelled for having centre-right politics. In the end, I defer to the greater wisdom of the brilliant Jewish comedian Josh Howie, who has used his platform to speak out against the appalling evil of anti-Semitism and who tweeted this earlier in the week. Probably the last comic who needs someone to stand up for them is Leo Kearse, but this thread by Victoria Corin Mitchell is maddeningly disingenuous and would take a longer and even more boring thread to pull apart. The fact is, Leo's joke is not racist and Victoria should apologise. Now, of course, anyone has a right to tweet any accusations they like, and there's no problem with Leo Kearse facing a response to any of his jokes. It's good for him. His ego's big enough as it is. But it's important to understand what's at play here, and I believe it's cancel culture. Leo's jokes don't fit with the woke North London metropolitan agenda. Mrs. Corin Mitchell is married to the equally talented comedy actor David Mitchell, who, surprise, surprise, has had a pop at me in his Guardian column. There's the article. I've got to say it was a cracking read. The Prosecco-guzzling elite want to silence Leo. They want to silence me. They want to silence GBNews. And therefore, they want to silence you. It's the same people in America who want to silence Joe Rogan, a free speech comedian who says what's in his head, who's authentic, and has now amassed 11 million listeners a week. That's all for his podcast. Why do they listen? Well, not because all of them agree with what he's saying, but because they find him authentic. They don't feel lied to or... Now, we're passionate about telling you the truth here at GB News. We say it like it is. We'll get it right, we'll get it wrong. Us GB News presenters don't even agree with each other, and that's the magic of the place. I'm a current affairs broadcaster and a comedian, but I use this medium and live comedy to the same ends, which is to debate everything, ask questions, challenge the status quo and ruffle a few feathers. Any broadcaster or comedian that isn't a disruptor, that doesn't ask questions, may as well pack up and go home, which is why safe box-ticking comedy is so tedious. Viewing figures for comedy shows like Live at the Apollo have gone through the floor as a result. Go woke? No joke. By all means, have woke, politically correct comedy, but let it compete with edgy comedy, the likes of which John Cleese, Billy Connolly and French and Saunders are all on record as saying they would not be able to do now. I'm a big fan of Victoria Corin Mitchell, and this isn't personal, but she made it personal by attacking another comic for having a different view and by using the R word. Racism is the most evil thing imaginable, and a colossal problem in our society which must be tackled. But for a powerful entertainer with a big platform to use the R word in this context diminishes the horror of what racism is. But that's the punishment you get for not going along with the narrative, for not following the rules of the echo chamber. All dissenters will be crushed in the Church of Woke, which is why the Church of Woke must not be crushed necessarily, but at least brought to its knees. Personal attacks and putting labels on people just to silence them is no laughing matter.